What is going on, fellow Stonebladers? It has been a while. I haven't played since way before Wrenn and 6 got banned. I'm not going to be doing a ton of content, but however, I decided to actually, give MTGO the old college try again, simply because, I haven't played Magic a lot, been very busy with business and other stuff, but I had some free time open. I'm like, you know what, why not? I was reading around, and everyone seemed to be complaining about Oko, and that Stoneblade is now a horrible deck. My goodness, it's like every time a new powerful card comes out, all of a sudden, Stoneblade is a horrible deck, it's unplayable. My goodness, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll see just how stupid that statement is, especially when I was going against powerful cards like Wrenn 6. Like, you build your sideboard in your deck based around some of these powerful cards, and many times you don't even have to go all in on them. For example, Oko isn't that huge of a deal. I mean, yes, it's turning your Batterskull into a 3/3, it's slowing you down, but I mean, if you make good decisions and you don't tap out when you need to and you do other cool things and you have Red Blast on the side in case you need them and you actually set up your deck properly to succeed, and you actually play well, you're going to do pretty well. It's like, if you're really good at this deck, you're going to be really good in terms of, match percentage and wins and so on and so forth. This deck is not very forgiving. I don't know what it is about this. I've played Miracles. I liked Miracles because it was a control deck, and what I didn't like about it was sometimes it just took too long to close up, whether you were waiting for a Terminus and then into Monastery Mentor. That's why I moved from Miracles to this, because I love the Stoneforge package. I love True-Name as much as people hate it, but that's just my play style. That's what I like. I like controlling the game. I like sitting back. I like waiting for the opponent to do something, countering it, taking advantage of that, and so on and so forth. With all that being said, this is the same exact deck list that I used, like I said, before Wrenn and 6 was banned, so I'm not going to put it in the description or anything. It's not worth copying. However, if you did want to copy it, two things that I would change pretty much in the main deck. I would take out one Narset, and I would take out one Snap. Yes, I would take out one Snap. And I would replace those with 2 Teferi Time Ravelers. So you'd have 2 Jace, 2 Teferi, and 1 Narset. Okay, that would be the main deck, simply because I like everything in it. I do like Back to Basics. I know a lot of people are like, there's a ton of snow-covered stuff going on. I completely get it. I set up my deck as being able to handle pretty much any deck. My deck is the ultimate 50-50 list, if you want to call it that, because there are a lot of decks that you can struggle with if you don't have Back to Basics, and there are a lot of game ones where out of nowhere, sometimes people are forced to fetch improperly, or they just fetch horribly when they could have fetched Basics. I've won so many games off the back of Back to Basics, pun kind of intended, but aside from that, when it comes to the sideboard, anything that I would change here, first and foremost, perhaps Vendilion Clique. I'm not too familiar. I know people are big on Oko and all these, blue control, mid-range type of decks, but outside of that, I'm not too sure how I feel about that. It is good with combo and so on and so forth, so that could be a card I would take out. I love having 2 Disenchants. I split it up with a Nature's Chant and Disenchant. Everything else here is fine. 3 Blasts are great. 2 Surgical Extractions, I always thought about maybe taking out 1. Obviously, they're good in Reanimator. They're great for sniping things with lands and so on and so forth. You're bringing them pretty much into a lot of the other decks. I'll bring them into Storm, I'll bring them into Dredge, Hogak, and so on and so forth. But is 2 really necessary? Maybe it could be a different hate piece when it comes to graveyards, but that's something that I could probably take out. Spell Snare and Hydroblast. These were big when Wrenn and 6 was around, and that's the reason why they were in here. I love Spell Snare, that's why I'm keeping 1 in the main, but because that card is not around, these were literally in there to help fight against that, and they did very well. But now that they're gone, I don't think I need them as much, even though Spell Snare is a very solid card. It does hit a lot of great cards. I like it. I could probably take that out. And Path to Exile is my 5th Swords to Plowshares. I don't like Supreme Verdict as much. I simply like being able to play stuff at instant speed. I don't mind the fact that they're getting an extra land. I've played this card ever since I first started online, and them getting an extra land hasn't really ever been a big deal. Heck, I'll play Path to Exile and Back to Basics at the same time. It doesn't matter to me. But anyway, those are the cards that I could probably take out if I was kind of adapting to more of what people are playing today. And that leaves a lot of wiggle room in terms of what you want to be better against, what else you want to add to it. Examples of cards that I have tested out that you could probably test out as well. Palace Jailer is a solid one. Ashiok actually isn't all that bad, this card here. I'm not sure if I would put it back in, but it does a lot better than I think people really think. Gideon, ally of Zendikar, is another solid one. Not only can it poop out 2/2s, which is always fun, it can give your true names protection from those pesky Plague Engineers, giving it the +1/+1. That's something I never really got to test out, but something I kind of wanted to. But I mean, there's just a lot of other options. Dovin's Veto, a simple counterspell. I was thinking about putting another counterspell on the sideboard just because it really matches my playstyle. I drag the game out into the long run, and being able to counter anything, even like a Plague Engineer, even creatures, planeswalkers, is very powerful, especially when you play the type of game that I do. Either way, that's kind of my thoughts when it comes to how I would change the deck. I would keep in back to basics. If I wanted to change that around, maybe I do one main board, one side, especially with all these slots open. But given these 75 cards here, making a few tweaks, you're going to do fine as long as you play well. Red Blasts do really help. Even before Oko was out, they helped so much. My goodness. When you think about all the combo decks you're playing against too, like Show and Tell, even... what's the other one? Storm is big. There's probably other ones that aren't as popular, like High Tide, and then you think of all the control decks that you brought in against his Miracles, Stoneblade, and all these other different forms. Now you have even more of those that are even more powerful. So I've always been a big emphasis on utilizing these. Now I think people are like, oh yeah, I think it's a good idea. It's like, yeah, duh. They were a good idea many years ago as well. But let's get on into the game. It's going to be against an Oko deck. And like I said, I haven't really played all that much, so I understand what the card does. The thing is that's been really confusing to me is that people are just like shoving Oko in like any deck possible. I'm like, okay, they're playing duels. Does that mean they're playing Wastelands? They're playing duels, so I guess they're not playing, Arkham's Astroblade. Okay, so that's out of it. It's just, I had a hard time figuring out exactly what this deck was specifically doing until, it came to the game after the first, or maybe the second if there is going to be one. Okay, I don't want to make any spoilers, but let's get right on into it and roll that beautiful bean footage. All right, so ironically enough, I did play, I want to say, maybe like once a week ago, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. My playing was so bad. It was like watching someone who had never played Stoneblade before. It's funny, like when you don't play, you just forget so many things. Literally the smallest mistakes that can have you lose the game. That's the power of Stoneblade. You got to be careful with your movements and your plays and your lines and so on and so forth. Nevertheless, I like this hand. Okay, we got a Polluted Delta to fetch an island on the first turn on the play. We got Ponder to find more lands. If we don't find any more, we got our second one. We're really weak against like a combo deck. Fortunately, we weren't playing a combo deck. Let's keep this. Not too much else to analyze. Polluted Delta for an island. Let's ponder. Let's see what we got. Let's analyze this. Okay. Not so bad. Okay, so first and foremost, I didn't know who I was up against. However, I think like I said, I might have played this guy a week or two ago, but people always change decks online, so you can't always. I wasn't tracking it too, so I couldn't make sure, but we're playing this as if it is an unknown. So keep in mind, I am very weak to combo, so I'm going to want this in my hand, okay? I already have a sword, so I don't need that right away, and technically if I need to use my swords, I'm going to want a Tundra, okay? So how you stack your Ponders and Brainstorms can pretty much have you win or lose the games. Talk about that later. So I don't need my sword, so that's going on top first. Okay, I don't need my Tundra right away because I can't play that. I've played a land, and I want Force of Will in my hand because if I need to counter something, I'll be able to. Make sense? Perfect. So that's how that went. Okay, Ponder. Cool. I like to see that. We got our Tundra, okay, so instead of playing Tundra, okay, because they could be playing Wasteland, what I wanted to do is actually Ponder first. Now, this obviously, if they're playing Daze, they can Daze me. I highly doubt someone's going to Daze my Ponder. If they wanted to, that would be fine, but I mean, that's the chance we took, so to speak. So, once again, I'm pretty sure I put it back the same way. What I want to do here is actually keep the island because I want to play that. That's why I didn't play this first, because if I played this, now it's Wastelandable. So I think what I did here is actually Swords, Ponder, Island, because I already have a Swords, and then next turn I can play Ponder if I need to. Yes. It's always great when I talk about, like, probably one of the most beneficial plays to make, and then actually make it. There's so many times where like, yeah, you got to do this, and then I do the complete opposite. I do it all the time. That's the power of Magic. It's like you can go back, and there's just so many different lines and plays you can move. I like calling it plays. People call it lines, but... Okay, this is perfect, because we got a Swords for this dude. Okay, so actually a few things I can do here. Now I'm like, they might have some wastelands, okay? And this is kind of typical of a wasteland deck, okay? So a few things I can do here. I can play Tundra and plow it right away. I can ponder, look for, say, like a plains, so I'm not going to get hit by that. I think I might have Tundra. Okay, so I pondered first, that's fine. Okay, this isn't all that bad either, okay? This was the swords I think we knew about. And then we got some more lands. So I know I wanted the swords here. I'm not going to think too much about this, okay? Yeah. I did play this, and I swords this. I'm pretty sure I had that fetch there next. Well, well, well. Oko, Thief of Batterskull. Alright, so let's force this. Let's get rid of a True-Name, because we have two. I like True-Name, but, you know, Jace. Okay, and they pitched a Daze. Okay, so they are playing Daze. This is good information, especially when you haven't played it a while. Like, I'm not sure what these decks are capable of packing. So that, you know, people definitely have a huge advantage when you don't play for a while, and you're like, what's this card? What does it do? What else are they playing? Okay, that's fine. Definitely playing that. Okay, so here they are playing Daze, so I feel like playing Jace. I mean, playing a Jace and landing it wouldn't be bad. I also just, one of my rules of playing against Daze is don't play into Daze, so I'm going to do that effectively. Here what I want to do is actually play True-Name. I want to make sure I want to tap this, because if they play a Wasteland and it's tapped, then I can at least, you know, represent something else. We could talk about bluffing a lot and doing that. How you tap with your duels is very important. That also means I would have to crack that, which I'll probably want to do because I think I had a land on top. Okay, nothing we can do there. That's fine. They took the Jace. Sure. You got it. You got it. Okay, so this actually isn't all that bad. I mean, they've got this. They're at the advantage here, but I did that because I knew I had a, what's it called coming up? An island? I think it was an island. Okay, that's not bad. So I swords here. I'm thinking of, like, what could they have in their hand? Like, if I let them draw something, then, you know, they could, like, hard cast the Force of Negation. I just did it there. I didn't want them to get a peek at what was at the top because they have a Polluted Delta, or if they don't like it, they can get something else. That was the reasoning for doing it there. And we're not playing this land because they are playing Thoughtseize, and if they want to lose a card and lose 2 life for no reason, that's fine by me. Can have a staring contest. I don't want to start attacking. If I start attacking, that pretty much means they're going to start attacking. They're going to make more of these. Right now, they have the clear advantage with this bad boy here. I know everyone's like, oh, this card sucks so badly. It's not the worst in the world. Like, I would rather play against this than, say, like a Renin 6 or something. Once again, what's the... I'm surprised they didn't make that a creature. Anyway. Sure. And I didn't play that because, once again, perfect draw. You know what we're getting rid of. And we have 2 islands back up to possibly bluff a Counterspell or a Spell Pierce if they want to do something, like play a card and we can Spell Pierce it, or a Spell Snare. Okay, cool. And now we have a staring contest. Ooh, not bad. Once again, I'm not playing a Swords. They play Thoughtseize. I know eventually they're going to be able to... Okay, so this is kind of like there's nothing going on here. I don't need to Swords if I'm not under pressure. Like, I can... Like, for example, this can actually be a much better target simply because it flies and it's going to be able to get in there. So I'm not sure if I plow this at the end here. I might have not. Okay, great draw. Once again, I'm tapping this. Okay, because if I tap this and they wasteland this, I'll have to play this like at a specific time if I want to use that. Okay, very important. And I don't think this deck plays Spell Pierce. Okay, if I did, I might have played that in case I needed to utilize this. And this is where I was starting to get pretty aggressive. Like, that's not the... Because if you think about it, like, let's say this doesn't flip. okay, they can attack with this one, and then like I can block that and kill it, but then they're attacking me for 4. So I started changing pace, so to speak. Okay, that's good. Didn't like that card. Ship it back. That is an awesome draw. Once again, I'm not utilizing my swords. I have a Brainstorm here. And I played that just because when I have Brainstorm, I would want to be able to shuffle some stuff away. Once again, very aggressive. There we go. Now they can attack with pretty much all of them. Let's see. They didn't like what was on top, so here I decided to swords that. What do you got? Okay. Bring it on in. Didn't want to fire off a Brainstorm. I want that 1 extra card. That's a good extra card. And once again, let's see. I don't think I did anything. I might have attacked with 1. Yep, being very aggressive. Like, they had their chance when they had, like, all the ability to make... I think they could have made 1 more creature there. That probably would have been a big deal, because they could have kept attacking with this, and I would have had the chump. But that's perfect. Okay, so... they're finally playing something where I'm like, okay, I can do something with this. So I can hardcast Force of Will. Not sure if I like that too much. A double daze stops that. If they have Spell Pierce, I don't think they have Spell Pierce. It seems like a deck like this. I mean, they could. They have Delver, so who knows. So here I decide to Brainstorm. The reason why is because I can hit a Counterspell. I can hit a Spell Snare. I can hit another Plow. I can hit a lot of good stuff. The fact of the matter is that I'm saving this until, you know, I see a card where I can possibly do something. If they played something that's more powerful, I'm definitely going to do that. For example, if that was Oko, you know, I might just counter that, but let's see what we got. Okay, so this was actually a really good one because I have Snapcaster and I have Swords. So what I want to do here is I want to do Polluted Delta and Stoneforge on top. I want to hide the Stoneforge in case they got a little sneaky and they have a Thoughtseize as well. Okay, so Polluted Delta, Stoneforge, perfect. Let's move to the end. Awesome. Plow. All right, so who would you plow here? Curious. I'm pretty sure I went with the Delver because these aren't doing anything as long as I still attack with 1 and they're sitting there. So I'm getting rid of the Delver just because it can fly over everything. Can have it. Let's play this. Here I got Batterskull. Jitte isn't going to do much to these dudes, and I'm pretty sure would I only exile. How many dudes are gone now? 1, 2, 3 of them. Okay, wow. So 3 of those are gone. So yeah, Jitte's just, I mean, I could have gotten Jitte, played it, and possibly equipped it. However, they could have countered that. I mean, they probably would have countered that if that was the case. But once again, I'm very aggressive. I don't mind taking hits here because their life is going to be getting much lower, despite the fact that they can gain 6. I understand that, so we're kind of at an even amount. But I do have chump blockers. I mean, these 2 dudes. So the most I'd take is 4. And I'm okay with that. Sure. That's awesome, okay? A thing with Stoneblade and Stoneforge specifically is that they'll say like Stoneforge is really bad because like I'll play it and they'll kill it. But you have to think that when you play a Stoneforge and you get any equipment, okay, these are canceling each other out, and now you're 1 card ahead, okay? Now I can hard cast that, I can put it back with a Brainstorm, I can equip it, I can do a lot of things. It's kind of like playing a Narset, getting a card out of it, and someone abrupt decays it. That's a good exchange because they lost a card out of that. So keep that in mind, okay? Just because Stoneforge dies a lot of times is not a bad thing. Like, it's supposed to. Playing Stoneforge many times is a very offensive move because you're on the offense where they have to do something to it. Otherwise, they're going to be in trouble, whether you get on with a Batterskull or whatever it's going to be, or a Jitte, depending on who you're playing. Surprised they didn't attack with everyone there, because if they attacked with everyone, I could have blocked that, killed it, that, and then taken 5, but okay. I will chump here. That's fine. Ooh. Great draw, especially for the fact that it's blue. Okay, so here what I want to do is... do I want to attack with... Actually, I think I went to see if I could cast it first, because if it got countered, that could change combat math. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so since that's good, I'm going to attack with 1. Once again, very aggressive. Okay, and this was something I used to do all the time, but I forgot. If they have double days, they're getting me anyway. But usually this is the reason why I would fetch here, is because like they have a wasteland where, say I go to like, you know, counter this, and then they go to like, I go to fetch, and then they go to, wait, how does it go? You know, like where you wasteland a fetch and then they daze. I'm so used to playing around that this is the reason why I fetched that. Like I said, it's been a while since I played, but that's just getting countered. And they're like, nope, don't care, because they can't. Can they gain 3? They can gain 3, so it technically wasn't over. That means they would have taken 10. They would have been at 1. But I don't think they would have been able to stop that. Either way, look at that. They started off with this on board, and we still got through it. Okay, we got a nice little Council's Judgment in there to help, and we had a lot of nice removal. But that wasn't all that bad. Fun game. Okay, let's move on to game number 2. I'm not going to show you my sideboarding because I still wasn't all that sure what they were on. Like I said, like there's a lot of crazy cards in this deck. I haven't seen it before, except for like that other one time. So let me just move on to game number 2. Okay, so I'll actually show you my sideboarding in game number 3. Spoiler alert, they won this game, but I don't like this hand. It's actually really good if it had a plains or a fetch land to get a plains. So I had to throw this back. Not having any way of getting a plains would be detrimental here. Okay, this isn't actually all that bad. And I'm going to get rid of the Batterskull here. Pretty simple. Okay. Looks like it's going to be first turn Ponder for us. Alright, so remember when I talked about how setting up a Ponder can like pretty much win or lose the game for you? This is a perfect example. Okay, in my opinion, this could be a shuffle. However, I do need lands. Like I know I need 3, but we're also looking for like a plow here. Definitely need a plow. Have to start getting that. But if I was going to keep this, it'd probably be like Tundra, Polluted Delta, Force of Negation. Yeah. It's like you're facing down a Delver. You're probably going to need one of your 5 removals. Okay. And that probably lost me the game there. Like I said, I haven't played in a while. What card was next? Tundra? Yeah, you don't want a Tundra. Not against the Wasteland deck when you're looking for better cards too. I actually thought about, what's it called, countering this. Like it's a very important card, but I wanted to rather conceal information. At this point I was like, yep, I knew that cost me the game, so I let him have that. At this point I was just fishing for information. Like I said, I wasn't all too familiar with this deck. I don't even know what to call it, like Delver Oko or something. What colors are they playing? Black, blue, green. Was that bug? Black, blue, green. So was this bug Delver Oko or something? Yep, we knew that was coming. So anyway, we're playing on. I don't want to play a back to basics here because I still have this problem. So I want to play a True-Name because that at least will stop the bleeding, assuming that it goes through. He can block Tarmogoyf. Now they're going nuts on this. I think they draw 2 cards. 2 cards it is. Sure. 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 That's a good draw. I believe first I got rid of, yeah, that guy. Playing this. We're playing into days here because we have to. We can't just like hold back here. Those are the times when you want to. once again, I thought about forcing this because I know they're pretty much, that's going to flip. But like I said, that Ponder and playing that Plains instead of the Polluted Delta to fetch away for the next card was a very big mistake. See, like things like that look very minor, but they're huge. And you know this like when you play a lot. But like I said, there's going to be some sloppy play when you haven't played in a while. Oh, okay. So after this game, I was like, all right, I know exactly what they're doing. They're playing like a shit ton of creatures and Oko and Wasteland. It's like a Delver deck, but with Tarmogoyfs and Oko. I'm like, got it. Okay. And once I know like what someone is up to with a deck, I do very well. Okay. It's kind of like Reanimator, like that first game. Okay, now I know they're on Reanimator. Now they're dead because I know how to play against it and so on and so forth. Okay, this was specifically for a Daze check. I think we saw a Daze in the first game, but they were on the play, so they'd probably have it. Let's see if they got it. They do have it. Perfect. And flip. Yep, okay, so that was game 2. So they did have a quick start, but like I said, I still take that on me. I'm not like, oh, this deck sucks. Like that Ponder, I either could have shuffled that, or I should have played the Polluted Delta to fetch away the Tundra that was going to be next. Games where you lose like that, where you figure out the mistakes that you made, are good ones, because when you improve upon that, that's how you get better. And this, like I said, this deck's not very forgiving. That little slip up there was a big deal. Even though they were ahead, I'd say overall, because they're, Delver on the play. Delver first turn, flip in second. Either way, let's move to the sideboarding. I'll actually talk about that since I kind of have a good idea of what they're all about now. All right, so playing Jeskai Blade, or just splashing red, whatever you want to call it, it's very interesting when you play against decks like this that have Oko but also use Wasteland. So for the person that plays like a Mountain as well as Volcanic Island, Blasts are going to be awesome here. However, I did not choose to use Blast. Blasts are very difficult when you have just one Volcanic Island and you're playing against someone who has Wastelands, okay? These are going to be great against any deck that plays blue but doesn't have Wastelands, kind of like, for example, Show and Tell, Storm, Miracles, any of these other mid-range decks that have blue and don't use Wasteland. So, ironically enough, I chose to fight the battle without using any Blast, okay? Considering people say Stoneblade is horrible without red and it's horrible with it, let's try without it. Let's see what happens, right? So what do I want here? I believe I want a Force of Negation because I wasn't sure how many Planeswalkers they were packing, so I brought it in. I definitely want this, okay? Spell Snare I doubled up on. I'm like, they have a lot of Tarmogoyfs. They have that other card I'm not familiar with because it's still new. It's whether it's black and blue, counter target spell, or you can kill a creature with like equal or less than to the amount of cards in your graveyard. You know which one I'm talking about? I haven't seen that around. But anyway, those three. So I'm not playing Volk here, so that's out. And let's see. I didn't want a Jace. They were playing Daze. Those are just very tough to play. Let's move these in. And I believe I actually might have taken out a Brainstorm because I liked everything else in here. Judgment is great. Back to Basics on the play is great if you saw their mana base. And I think I actually took out a Brainstorm here. Call me crazy, but I liked everything else in here. Let's sort this. Okay, so if we look at it now, Forces are great in case we need to force something. I like using Force of Wills. You could take one out if you want. True-Names are great. Narset's great. They draw a lot of cards for extra protection. Back to Basics. You saw the lands they were playing. A lot of targets hit that. Spell Pierce is iffy, but like I said, I'm still not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure this is the 60 that I used for this specific game 3 of this match. So let's get right on into that. All right. So can I immediately tell you right off the bat that I just freaking love this hand, okay? It has everything that I want. This is what I love about Stoneblade. Okay, they're not playing any super threats until like turn 3. And by super threats, I mean Oko. They'll play a Tarmogoyf, they might play a library, a Sylvan library, or they might play a Delver beforehand. That's fine. So I don't have to worry about keeping up Spell Pierce the first turn. So despite the fact there are no planes here, I do have 2 islands. I have a Ponder to look for that. I also have a Spell Pierce to keep them stall to find more lands. I also have a Counterspell to stall. And this is like a mini haymaker, especially for the fact that they're a deck that likes to draw cards. We're keeping this very quickly. Island, Ponder, let's see what we got. Okay, unfortunately, none of these things I like. Okay, not enough mana to do. We already have one. Brainstorm without having a fetch can be a nightmare, so I'm just going to say no. And we get what we see. Okay, let's put that there. Let's see what they got going on. First turn, Ponder is beautiful. That means they're not playing a Delver. I like that. Okay, really good draw. So once again, this is a very important choice. So there's 3 things that we would be able to do on their turn. We can either plow, we can pierce, or we can counterspell. I'm not going to be a big fan of using a counterspell because if I do, it's playing in the days, okay? However, the other things they could play would be a Tarmogoyf, they could play a Delver, or they could play a Sylvan Library. So with all that being said, I don't need blue, but I would like the ability to have either blue or white. So here I'm playing a Flooded Strand. I can also play around days that way. I don't like this. I have a really good hand. I want to keep it that way. Because as I develop my mana, that's going to get better, that's going to get better. Like, all these are really good cards, especially once that hits my graveyard. Once that hits my graveyard, then Snap is on. So, I don't mind exchanging there. That is perfect. We are not plowing here, okay? No plow. Awesome draw. Mana is great. Here, I wanted to see what was going to be on top. And if they wanted to brainstorm in response, I could just always plow it. And let's see. Okay, so that means they're pretty much going to be setting up for a flip, most likely, next turn. And they didn't attack. That might be because of the possible Snapcaster. So I don't think that was a mistake. I mean, I did have a Snapcaster. I certainly wouldn't have used it there, but now we're going to fetch. So we can play around days. And that can go farming. Alright, cool. So, Narset, I mean, it's a pretty easy decision here. And once again, I'm tapping everything but this, because what do you want to fake having up after you play a Narset? Do you want to have a Plains so you can win your counter war with the Plains? Or do you want to keep up an island so you can win your counterspell war with an island? Okay, every single thing you do, you need to kind of think about. Because look, if they want to do something against this, I could have Spell Snare up. If they're playing that card that costs 2, I could have Spell Pierce, and I'm also playing around days. But anyway, in this scenario, keeping an island up is much more threatening. Okay, and immediately, against a deck like this, we want to use this. I know it sounds pretty silly. There are going to be times where you don't want to use it and just like trap someone where they can't, but they have a lot of ways to deal with this. So if they do deal with it and we get a card out of it, which we do, that's great. So here, Spell Snare isn't all that amazing. Like I said, it's Library, it's Tarmogoyf, and it's that other counterspell. It would be nice because it does go well with Force of Will. It's a blue card to pitch. However, they have so many creatures. Let's take the swords. That's a pretty easy decision there. Alright, and that is perfect. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Playing this, getting a card out of it, and then like these two, they're killing each other here, and now we got a card. They're down a card, and now they had to wait on their turn to use that. Like, that was an awesome exchange, despite the fact it didn't even last, a full turn in terms of, coming back around to mine. Nice wasteland. I always say that when I don't have any non-basics. What costs 2? Oh, a little bit more than 2. I mean, Force of Willing that. I mean, you got to think about the possible plays you can make. I don't want to Force of Will that. I want to save that for something that's much more powerful, especially when I can deal with it. Okay, so remember, I do have Back to Basics in my deck. I kept 2 of them in, because if you look at their mana base, you'll see why. Okay, so I wanted to either hit a land here or Back to Basics. I understand that if I hit Back to Basics and they have days, I would fight over that because hitting it would just be so backbreaking. So I actually chose to ponder here first because there's a lot of great cards that I could hit. And ironically enough, True-Name can brick him, which isn't all that bad. I mean, I could take the Spell Snare. Overall, these cards aren't all that bad. However, I wanted a land here. My hand is getting very land hungry. This deck needs a lot of lands. I say that a ton because it's true. That's great. That's exactly what I want. Now I'm going to plow this because they're completely tapped out. They can't like hard cast a Force of Negation or something next turn, so I'm just going to get rid of it now. And I have Counterspell up, which is also a big deal. This is the type of game I like. Just making my exchanges, controlling the board. I did that just in case they went to Wasteland. See, this was the time where I think it would have mattered. So if I go to counter that, and then they waste this, and then they daze that, then I can't do anything. So this was actually the appropriate time to play around the Wasteland daze thing. Okay, so Let's do this. Perfect. Now we are in a really good spot because we got Snap. Oh, okay, that's a good spot too. Okay, let's play that. I still have Force of Will for something if I want to counter it. Nada. This is good. Another good draw. Let's attack. Nada. Okay. They might have some like counter spells. I'm trying to think of like what they would have in their hand. Once again, not a bad draw, especially if you're playing a control role. Given the fact that this is a Delver deck, I assume the more it extends out, like the worse it gets. I could be wrong, but they do have cards like this where if it extends longer and they get it down, might be a little speed bump, but that's about it. We have ways of dealing with that. Nothing. Once again, another great draw. Like all these cards are lining up perfectly simply because this is why I don't like doing anything, because now when I get to act last, I have more information about what I should use, if I shouldn't use it, and so on and so forth. And like I said, though, more land is really needed here. I can't stress that enough. Okay, so I can Snap, Counterspell that. I can Hardcast Force of Will it, which plays into Daze. I can force Pitching Force, which I'm not crazy about. I actually just let this go. It's fine. Okay, so here I believe I Council's Judgment first because I wanted to have the most amount after attacking, excuse me. But I think it was Council's Judgment first because if I play a Ponder, that means there's only one land up. And once again, I want to threaten having more mana open. That just makes it more difficult for my opponent to do something. Because if I played Ponder first, there would be just one land up. So this is much more threatening. And they see that I have a Counterspell here. I could have more. You never know. Okay, so that was the card I was talking about that Spell Snare hits. I'm not too familiar with that. I guess people started playing that probably after Wrenn 6 was banned, because I think this came out after Wrenn 6 was banned. But here, since that's a big deal to them, I'm going to fight over this. Force, pitching, Force of Negation. Now we can Ponder. Okay. Having another Force is nice. But, I mean, I do have Snap. Once again, I just want lands, seriously, because I have Snap and pretty much anything over here, so. Okay, that's good. That'll do. That'll do, Pig. That'll do. They were flooding a little. I'm not. Normally, I wouldn't play that because what can happen is you can get a Jace, and then you can get a fetch land and shuffle stuff away. I attacked first. Like I said, I'm really unsure about what type of shenanigans they have over there. So I have 4, I have 6. So if I had 5, like I said, I think I was doing that in case they were playing Spell Pierce. Like I said, I don't know if this deck plays Spell Pierce, but playing that land allowed me to play around it. And they're like, nope, not happening. And there you go. We just beat an Oko deck without even using red. Okay? I understand it's not one of those, I guess, like Super Control with Snowco and all that other crap, but that was, like I said, once I figured out what they were on, it makes playing against the deck so much easier. I didn't want to bring red because they are Delver and they do have Wastelands, but playing against Delver is always fun, especially when they start using this card. We saw in Game 1 where this came down early, and we still ended up winning through it. So it's just, sometimes it's getting the cards, sometimes it's flooding out. I'm pretty sure the person literally had like 5 lands in their hand. They were doing what I do and just keeping them in their hand, which is always a good move. But that's about it. Like I said, I probably won't be doing too many videos. In fact, I probably won't just because I only had some time to do this. Then it's back to getting stuff done. But hope you enjoyed this, and that should just be about it. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome day.